Hi all, today I'm going to talk about statistics and we're going to look at frequency distribution tables. So let's take some real data. So in my basketball team I've recorded the number of points each player scored in the table below. So my players are Jane, Mary, Tony, Robbie and Sam. In the 5 games they all scored points. So I want to work out and look at these points to see which points were scored most often, and how many points we scored over the season, what the average points are, and all of that information. So the first thing I can do is I look at my table and I find out what's the smallest number and what's the largest number. And so they are my scores. So the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now I'll go through my table here and I'll put tally marks for every time the number occurs. So in game 1 we had 3 points, 6 points, 5 points, 2 points and 7 points. In game 2 we had 2 points, 9 points, 5 points, 3 points, 8 points. Game 3, 1, 4, 9, 8 and 9. Game 4, 7, 8, 9, 7 and 10. And game 5, 2, 5, 7, 3 and 8. So each one of these dashes represents one time that a player scored that many points in a match. So the frequency is the number of times that result has occurred. So 1 score occurred once, 2 scores occurred 3 times, 3 scores 3, 4 scores 4, 3, 1, 4. So I'm just counting up the tally marks. 4, 4 and 1. So that is my frequency. So how often each of those scores occurred for each player. So the next column here is my cumulative frequency. So what I do is take my first frequency and I write it here. And now I add this number to this number. So 1 plus 3 is 4. So 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 plus 3 is 14. Plus 1, 15. Plus 4, 19. Plus 4 is 23. Plus 4 is 27. Plus 1 is 28. So I can see that I've made a mistake here because my cumulative frequency should add up to 25. Here's where my mistake is. This should be 1. So that changes my scores here. So 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. 11 plus 1 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. 20 plus 4 is 24. And 24 plus 1 is 25. I know that this is the correct number because I have 25 scores up here. So my cumulative frequency should add up to the number of scores that are here. So in this next column, I'm going to work out how many points were scored overall. So if I go back to my frequency column, so one point was scored by one player once. So cumulative is 1 point. 2 points were scored on 3 occasions. So that's going to be a total of 6 points. 3 points were scored on 3 occasions. So that's 9 points in total. 4 points were scored on 1 occasion. 5 points were scored on 3 occasions. So 5 times 3 is 15. 6 points was scored on one occasion. 7 points were scored on 4 occasions. 7 fours are 28. 8 points were scored on 4 occasions. 8 fours are 32. 9 points was also scored on 4 occasions. That's 36. And 10 points was scored on 1 occasion. So 10 times 1 is 10. Now if I add all those up, I'll find that that comes to 147 points. So if I'd added up all these points here, I'd get 147 points. So that's my total of all the scores. So if I was to calculate the mean, I can take this score and I divide that by 25, which is this cumulative frequency. So I'll use my calculator. 147 divided by 25. So my mean is 5.88. Alright, in this column here, I can do my cumulative frequency times the score. So I'm taking this column, the cumulative frequency, and I'm multiplying that by the score. So 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 2 is 8, 3 times 7 is 27, 8 times 4 is 32, 11 times 5 is 55, 6 times 6 is 36, sorry, 55, that's correct. So I did 11 times 5, 12 times 6, 72, 16 times 7 is 112, and 20 times 8 is 160, 24 times 9 is 216, and 25 times 10 is 250. Okay, so from this information that we've got here, we can now, we've found our mean, we can find our mode. So our mode is the score that occurs the most, and we can see here that we have 3 modal scores. So our mode is 7, 8, and 9, and we can find our median. And our median is our middle score. So if there are 25 scores, we can use this cumulative frequency line here. If there's 25 scores, halfway between that, so halfway 25 is 13, so 13 is 12 below and 12 above, and the 13th score is 7. So the 12th score is 6, so the 13th score is 7. So that's where our median is. Our median is 16. Oh, sorry. Our median is 7. And our range, to work out our range, we look at our scores. Our range is 10 minus 1, which is 9. Okay, so that's statistics, frequency tables. There's a whole lot of information, and this is another way we can get our stuff. And we can graph that, and I'll show you that later. Good luck.